After the controversial finish witnessed at the Glen, the drivers and teams made their way to the Brickyard. With Rash recovering from surgery, it meant an easy pole for Brian Strodbeck, while Steve Browne began the race on the outside of the front row. At the green, the Mustangs stayed clean, but it was only temporary. Duljan Boldrin and Eric Smith had slight contact in turn 4, and later Phil Schrader spun in turn 1 after a light touch of the grass. The field thankfully managed to avoid the Blush Pictures Mustang. In ST class, Ayrton Ellis returned from his series hiatus with a bang by starting in first, while James Stevenson could only manage second in the face of the Team Titan. At the green, Stefan Overgaard's amazing start led to a thrilling 3-wide entry into turn 1. But the Dane was overeager and lost multiple spots as he mowed across the Indy infield. Meanwhile, in GS class, Chris Bird and German Afanador were battling very hard to claim 5th, but it all fell apart on lap 9 when the two tangled. They were both able to continue. Andrew Allen stayed busy making friends, first with Duljan Boldrin on lap 15, then Scott Bersher on lap 24. On the ST side, Ellis led early with a commanding lead, but began to make mistakes. This put him in the clutches of Stevenson's red and green number 11. The battle between the two would rage for much of the race. Up front, Strodbeck had finally gained a significant lead on Browne through traffic, but his pit stop was a slow one, and he exited right in front of the orange and black machine. He expertly positioned his car at the apex, and the pivotal move allowed Brian to retain first. In a bizarre incident, Tim Brokaw attempted to navigate a pair of MX-5s by using the pit entry. It severely backfired and ended the race of an innocent Dexter Castro. This brought out the first caution of the day, and the field bunched up. At the restart, Browne learned his lesson from the previous race and capitalized by grabbing the overall lead. In ST, Overgaard's blue and white machine pulled a surprise attack on his teammate Stevenson for second. Unfortunately, yellows once again bred yellows, and before the lap was out, Rash made contact with German Afanador and Arthur Hermann in turns 8 and 10. Green Flag Racing returned on lap 42, and Strodbeck took revenge on Browne under heavy braking into turn 1. Behind them, Eric Smith's comeback run unfolded in a split second as he drifted into Clayson's Mustang, then impacted into the tire barriers. Battles raged up and down the field for 2 more laps until Chuck Johnson and Matthew Reinhold got mixed up. When Strodbeck led the field back to the restart on lap 45, he immediately covered the inside, and Browne weaved to avoid the disappearing gap. The pressure was on with 3 minutes left to go, and the driver's discretion buckled. Turn 6 saw multiple accidents that ruined the races of almost half a dozen drivers. The final yellow meant Strodbeck would take home his second win of the season, and Browne was yet again left to pine for his maiden win of Season 3. German Afanador rounded out the GS podium. Ayrton Ellis made an authoritative return with a win in ST. Stefan Overgaard was 1 position shy of making it a hat trick of wins, and James Stevenson took 3rd for the 3rd race in a row. With some feeling grateful to put Indianapolis behind them, the drivers arrive in the heartland at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The long laps around this 4-mile course will separate the milk from the curd when the green falls at Road America.
And welcome to the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. This week we are at the much-loved Road America track in Wisconsin for round number 8 of the series. And we are bringing it to you live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm your host Richard Losper, and with me in the booth is the ever-present, dependable Kevin Browne. Hello Kevin.
Hey Richard, glad to be watching a race at one of my all-time favorite tracks.
Yeah, that's great. Behind the scenes, most importantly, is the unflappable director of the show, Giancarlo Lenzi. Also with us tonight we have a guest commentator, the Dr. Amjed Yamin. Hello Amjed.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Folks, we should mention that Joe Peak, our usual lead commentator for this series, is taking an unusual step today of getting married. Right about now they should be making the speeches at the reception. Congratulations on tying the knot, Joe. The ball and chain gets heavier as the years go by. Kevin, you've worked with Joe a lot in this series. Would you like to give a shout out to him as well?
Absolutely. Congratulations, Joe and Kaylee, and we hope this is the first day in a long and happy marriage.
That's good. All right, folks, back to business. Now, tonight we are at the classic road racing venue, Road America. Kevin, can you give us a little bit more information about this track?
Absolutely. Road America is in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It is 14 turns and 4.04 miles long, with some big straights separating some of these corners. It's constantly a draft track in which you want to try and stay in the draft of the car in front of you, and should allow lots of space for racing and passing, and overtaking cars of the other classes should not be a difficulty. It's got one of the most famous corners in the world with the kink, the feared famous kink coming after the carousels, a high-speed right-hand corner where the drivers in the GS Mustangs will just barely lift to try and carry as much speed as they can down into the fearful Canada corner under the tree-lined shadows.
Yeah, it is a very, very fast corner, that kink. Taken full speed by the Mustangs, or almost full speed by the Mustangs, I guess, but certainly the MX-5s go through there at full speed. Now, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about the championship. And Kevin, can you start us off by talking about the GS class?
Can do. Our GS leader is Dan Rash. He is sitting on 219 points. 3 points behind him is Russell Clayson. Another 4 points back is J.D. Baumgartner, who appears to be sitting out this race. In fourth is our Season 2 champion, Stephen Browne, sitting on 201 points. And fifth place is Brian Strodbeck with 197, who also will be missing this race. So it's still very close. Drops are starting to get factored in, although Russell Clayson is the only one of the top three that does not have a drop week. But these drivers, any one of these guys could still get the overall lead.
Yep, it's tight in the GS class. In the ST class, we have our leader is James Stevenson on 229 points. Stefan Overgaard, who is not here tonight, I believe, is on 204 points in second place. And Carl Williamson, I haven't had a look at the practice session yet. I'm not sure whether Carl is in here, but he's in third place on 189 points. Elliot Huffman, a rookie for this season, is on 180 points. And in fifth place, it's Arthur Chan, a regular in the series, on 170. So perhaps not as close near the top, but certainly the second place, I would imagine, is wide open. Kevin?
Yeah, that's still quite a bit of battle going on right there. But we do have Stevenson and Williamson in this race so far, and they do look to be kind of pretty racy.
Yeah. All right. We have a track guide which will be in the Mustang, and it was done by our own Kevin Browne. So, Giancarlo, if you would like to queue up that that track guide for us.
All right, getting ready to do a lap around Road America with Kevin Browne and the Mustang. Coming onto the front straightaway here, that final corner has a very important exit because as you can see this huge hill, you want to have as much momentum to carry up it as possible. Coming across the start-finish line. Now coming up to this first corner, it can be a passing zone, but it's relatively tricky because it's still a somewhat fast corner. You're going to brake right before those three cones. And then again, carry your momentum through. Be careful not to take grass on the exit as it can spin you onto the inside wall there. Now coming up and braking for turn 3 here. This is another corner with an extremely important exit because it leads onto this long straightaway, the moraine sweep, that is going to be one of the best passing zones on this course. Now coming down here, there's a couple corners such as 3A and 4. They're kind of non-corners, they're just kind of bends here. Coming up to the final braking zone, just before that 2 marker, very hard, and turn it in. Now don't get too greedy on the curbs here on the exit because if you get a little bit of grass, you'll get a 1X. Now coming over the crest here, your car's going to go light. It can be very easy to lock up the brakes. Again, carry your momentum around this left-hander of turn 6. Then just a little bit of a lift through 7, this fast kink that takes you into the hurry downs. Now this left-hander can also be another passing zone if you get a good run on someone. But regardless, it's going to dump you into the carousel here. So obviously you don't need to get too good of an exit. but you're going to play with the throttle. You're going to balance the car on the throttle around this corner. And obviously, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a long time to get around here, but you want to get as much momentum as you can out of that corner as well. It's going to lead you onto the back straightaway. And again, very fast right-hander, just a little bit of a lift. The kink is known for taking many a good men out of a race. Down the kettle bottoms, up towards Canada corner. Now this is going to be the other good passing opportunity that you're going to see on this lap. Brake very hard into this right-hander. And there's a lot of curve to take, but it's deceiving because if you take too much, it just stops and you head into the grass. And then you can take this left-hander flat out if you're good, if you get the right entry. And that's going to take into the final corner. Again, it's more important to get the exit right than the entry here. And hopefully, coming onto the front straightaway here, you got a good run on the guy in front of you. And you can attempt to make a pass into one as you come up the hill. But that's a lap around Road America.
Welcome back, folks. We are, at the moment, we've got the GS class qualifying, and just looking at the leaderboard there, some interesting results there. Kevin, you want to have a little chat about the qualifying for GS?
Yeah, certainly. So, well, I do want to point out that our three fastest cars in practice were Russell Clayson, Dan Rash, and Steve Browne, with Russell leading at a 2:38.08. In qualifying, that we see that our Season 2 champion, Steve Browne, has apparently unloaded the weight from his car and has run a 2:30.570. So he's leading the field right now on what's an absolute stormer of a qualifying lap.
Yeah, Steve Browne hasn't been doing that wonderfully well in the last few races that I've watched, but certainly tonight he looks like he's got it all together, and he's put in a really fast lap there in qualifying. If you're faster than Dan Rush, then you really are fast, isn't that right, Kevin?
Yes, absolutely. So however he got there, hook, crook, or sinker, Steve's definitely showing that he is a force to be reckoned with today.
Good stuff. Now, folks, we do have some interviews lined up for you. And as usual, we interview the ST class drivers whilst the GS class is qualifying. So we have James Stevenson in the booth with us at the moment. James, can you hear us?
I sure can, fellas.
Hi there, James. A track favourite of yours?
No, it's one of my least favourite tracks on the calendar, unfortunately.
Seriously? Most people love this track. What is it that you dislike about it?
The straights are just too long. It gets a bit boring at times.
Yes, I guess so. You know, at a 2:30 plus lap, that is a really long lap. Having said that, how do you fancy your chances? I noticed that in the practice you were at the top of the leaderboard in the ST class.
Well, it all depends on who can get the good draft, and if you can play the right strategy with cautions and just be there at the end to get that run to the line.
Yeah, and I noticed that second to yourself there was the young gun Ayrton Ellis. Have you been out on track and battling a little bit with him in practice? What do you think of his chances at the moment?
We've done a lot of side-by-side practice actually, and he seems to be going okay, but every time we go side-by-side I just seem to get the better of him, so hopefully I can stay ahead of him.
Excellent. All right, James, we wish you all the best for the race. We are pretty sure that you will do well. You are always in it at the end. You are the class champion at the moment, or leading the championship, so there's no reason why you shouldn't do well. But I guess you said it all, the draft here plays an enormous part in the race, so we'll see how things pan out for you. All the best.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, now, who else do we have to interview? We've got Ayrton Ellis is out there. Ayrton, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay, Ayrton, before we get to talk to you, I want to introduce our guest commentator here, Amjed Yamin. Amjed, you've been watching the proceedings. What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Well, we should be seeing some exciting action in ST. You know, the draft is always heavy. Elton, about the draft, how important is it going to be within the pits to pit with someone or within the race about your pit strategy?
I think definitely staying in the draft will be the most important. I do have 3 other MX5 teammates in the race, so those guys will probably all be running the same pit strategy, so we'll be able to run together, but hopefully we won't have to try to race each other and slow each other down. I think my main competitor, though, is James Stevenson, by far. He has some really good pace here, and even though I heard that he doesn't like the track, he's really fast here.
Yeah, he did say that. I do see that you're in second in practice, so I guess that means you're going to do well in the race.
Yeah, I would say so. I've been really struggling with my setup. I've been jumping around with about 5 or so different setups from different people and different teammates. It's really annoying because pretty much all our drivers in my team have different driving styles, so setup is very difficult, even though we're teammates and able to share setup. So qualifying's about to start, so I think I'm going to try to head out and do some laps now.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Good luck, buddy.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, and it seems to me that the GS qualifying is just finishing up. So Kevin, do you want to run us through? They're just doing their last hot laps at the moment, but Kevin, do run us through what's happened so far.
Yeah, we do still have drivers completing their final qualifying laps, but we do have Eric Smith is on the provisional pole right now with a 2:34.76. So Eric Smith is also showing suddenly that he's got the speed to run at this race. So what was showing up to be potentially kind of a boring race up front is now looking to be easily a 4-way battle between Eric Smith, Steve Browne, Dan Rash, and Russell Clayson, as these are the only 4 drivers to have broken under a 2:31 at this point.
Yeah, that's excellent. So how many? We've got 16 drivers in the GS class. They've all but finished their their qualifying now. And at the moment we have the ST class out there. They are on their first lap, the out lap. So it'll be a little while before we see some times getting posted. Amjed, in the ST class generally, now you've had a chance to have a look at all these drivers. Obviously we've spoken about James Stevenson, we've spoken about Ayrton Ellis, we've actually interviewed them all, but there are other fast drivers in this race as well. There are people like Antti Tuominen, who is very fast but always seems to have some very bad luck and gets wrecked out in the race. We've got Elliot Huffman in there. What do you know about some of these drivers, Amjed?
Well, looking at the standings right now for practice, and I noticed Dexter Castro. He's someone that I raced in the Blondie series. He's up to 4th right now at a 2:39 in practice, so expect him to do well in qualifying.
Yeah, and also Dexter Castro, yes, you mentioned him. He's got a good turn of speed. Another fast guy that I'm looking at from the practice session, although he didn't do that well, is Stefan Morien. Now, Stefan is a fast driver, so if I were to make some predictions, and I'm going to get some predictions from you guys before the racing starts on who you think might win this, but just looking at the drivers there, I would say that out of 5 drivers, I would pick James Stevenson, Ayrton Ellis, Antti, Dexter, and Stefan Morien. The rest of them are good drivers, but these 5 I've just mentioned seem to stand out a little bit above the others.
Yeah, well, above and beyond, the top 2 definitely James and Ayrton. James is going to have a chance to jump in the points because 3 of his competitors in the top 5 are not even here today. Stefan Overgaard, Carl Williamson, and Arthur Ken are not here. So the standings in ST are definitely going to flip.
Yeah, I think you're right there. All right, well, we seem to, these guys have still got to turn laps. Only one person is showing up on the leaderboard, and that is Eric Biggs, as having actually posted a qualifying time. So while we are waiting for these guys to finish up some laps so we can see how the qualifying is shaking out, we'll have a look to see if we have anybody to interview from the GS class. Giancarlo, the only person I see in the lobby there is Nicholas Bailey. Is he available for an interview?
Sorry, folks, we're trying to gather these guys up. I see Eric Smith in nearby. Let's see if he's available to talk to us.
Yes, give me 1 second.
All right, guys, these we're bringing in some people to interview. Kevin will interview Eric Smith to start off with. Kevin?
Well, I might as well just go ahead and run through the GS qualifying order since GS qualifying is done. So our pole position is Eric Smith with a 2-minute 32nd.476. Steve Browne will line up on the outside row, outside of the front row, excuse me, with a 2:35.70. Third will be Dan Rash. Fourth, Russell Clayson. Fifth, Arthur Hermont. Sixth, Andre Trago. Seventh will be Jason Breifogel, and eighth will be Duljan Boldrin. Ninth, Jonathan Auger. 10th, Alexis Molina. 11th, Nicholas Bailey. And 12th, Phil Schrader. 13th will be Fred Masters. 14th, Chris Spurritt. 15th, Scott Burscher. And 16th, Chris Duffy with a 2:36.358.
Good stuff. So let's find out if Eric Smith is available now. Eric, can you hear us?
Eric, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here now. Sorry.
That's quite all right. Kind of surprised you a little bit. So, a fantastic pole position. You must be pretty happy with that.
Considering it's 9/10ths better than my previous best lap, yeah, I'm actually rather happy by that fluke.
Was that with a draft or without?
Without, I prefer to qualify out in the open. I don't like following people. I get distracted too easily.
Well, then you definitely must be very happy with that. Now, I seem to recall from racing with you that you've had some good success at Road America before. Am I right there?
Yeah, it's one of the tracks that I really enjoy. It's open, it's fast. I don't make too many mistakes here, knock on wood, but I'm just hoping to stay on the podium today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, now that you've got a few Continental Endurance Sports Car Series races under your belt, you're at one of your favorite tracks and you're sitting on pole position. You must think your chances today are pretty good.
Well, that depends on how aggressive Dan and Steve are. It's a shame Brian didn't make it, but he would have qualified probably 6 or 7/10ths faster than I did. But I'm hoping all will go well.
Well, I think you sold yourself a little short, but best of luck today.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, so at this point now in time, we've done about 7-8 minutes of qualifying in the ST class. And at the moment, James Stevenson, not surprisingly, is at the top of the leaderboard. Stefan Morien is running second. You'll remember a few seconds ago I spoke about Stefan Morien, and he's showing that he may be a force to be reckoned with here today. Matthew Reinhold is currently running third. We haven't seen a lap yet from Ayrton Ellis, so presumably he has had a few off tracks and has not been able to register a time yet, which is not that, you know, uncommon. With the speed that you get on this track, it is quite easy to get an off track, Amjed.
Yes, I've been watching Ayrton for the past couple of minutes, and he's had an off track. He's been waiting for a toe, and he's actually on a fly right now. So let's see what he can do.
Okay, just checking again to see if we have anyone else to interview. I see that Dan Rash is available there. Giancarlo, can we pull Dan Rash in, please? Dan, can you hear us?
Yep, loud and clear, Richard.
Excellent. Over to you, Kevin.
Dan, that 2:35 was faster than any of your practice laps, but now all of a sudden you're seeing yourself in the second row in qualifying. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I guess I ought to put a little bit more effort into qualifying, huh? I think the draft is a big effect here, and my qualifying setup was just my race setup with less fuel, and isn't nearly as stable when it has less fuel. So maybe I should have put a little more effort in, but oh well, that's how it goes. I know in this series it's quite a large point gain for getting pole, so I think it's about 2.5 positions worth. So I probably should have tried a little bit harder, but oh well, I'm looking forward to the race.
Well, your competitor for the top step of the championship podium standings, is starting on the outside of you. So, do you think you guys are going to be aggressive first bout, or you're going to be a little more cautious for the whole race?
Oh, I think with the amount of draft that's here, there's really no need to push it early. I think we can sit back and play conservative for a rather long time, especially with the amount of fuel that we're burning here. There's going to be a lot of fuel burned. And if you don't do a little bit of saving, you're going to need all 9.3 gallons when you go to fill up. So, you know, maybe just hold back a little bit, be easy. Erik has really good pace in qualifying, but I'll be interested to see if he can hold it up during the race. So we'll see. Hopefully he doesn't make any mistakes. It'd be good to battle him at the front. And then, you know, Steve put down a great qualifying lap. I know in practice he wasn't as quick. I think he might have caught some draft there. But, you know, he's a quick learner. So even if he didn't have the pace in qualifying or in practice, I think he can quickly get up to speed during the race. So I hope we have a three-wide battle for the win. That would be really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. The more the merrier. Anybody else you think might have some pace back there to surprise you?
I think Russell would definitely be the next contender. He's always pretty strong, pretty consistent. Hopefully he keeps his nose clean, and I think he'll definitely be there at close to, if not on the podium, then in 4th place at the finish. So I'm interested to see what he can do. He was working well with my setups in practice, so I think he has a similar driving style to me. He actually tuned it to be a little bit more aggressive, so it'll be interesting to see how his tires fare during the race if his more aggressive setup wears him a little bit quicker. But I think he's going to be near the front at the end. Hopefully he'll come into play at the front as well.
Okay, well, best of luck out there today, Dan.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, guys, we are now some 11 minutes into the qualifying. The qualifying's 15 minutes, so it's starting to shake out. Amjed, we still haven't seen a qualifying time from Ayrton Ellis. I'm looking at him out on track. It looks like he's following Antti Tuominen there, but he had best hurry up and post a time, otherwise he'll be starting last in this class.
Yes, we got about 3 minutes to go in qualifying, and yeah, you see that team aspect come into play with the 49 Motorsports people. Antti actually slowed up and it's given Ayrton a draft until guess now, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, very smart tactics that to work together to get a good time. However, qualifying is one thing and racing is entirely another. At the moment, James Stevenson is on the pole position if nobody beats him to it, with 2 minutes 37.716. Chris Moran, who we haven't spoken about tonight yet, and I guess that is remiss of us. We should have mentioned Chris, because he is really a very fast driver. He's in 2nd place with a 2 minutes 39.136. Antti is 3rd, and we're waiting with bated breath to see what Ayrton will do, because in practice Ayrton was running 2nd. Amjed? And
no,
Ayrton goes
Ayrton just
off
spun,
once
yeah.
again.
Yeah, Ayrton just spun.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to put down a lap time, so he's going to be starting from the back of the ST field.
I'm pretty sure he'll be very disappointed about that. He's currently just taken the toll. He was kind of sitting in the middle of the track then. So that's going to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to be pulling a Carl Williamson this race, coming from the back all the way to the front.
Yes. However, that is going to change things up a bit, because I know that Ayrton loves to challenge from near the top. He's not really a good driver by his own admission. He's not really good at following other people, so this is going to be really interesting. Another driver I noticed who's down near the bottom is Dexter Castro. Now, one would have expected him to have posted a decent lap time, but he's on a 2:44.063, which is not that great, Amjed.
No, I haven't been watching Castro, but he is on a flyer right now. This is going to be his last opportunity to put up a time.
Yeah, it's 29 minutes gone, they say, which means there's nearly 15 minutes gone in the ST qualifying. So it's all but over. Ayrton won't be able to put in a time, and it looks to me like it's all set for the qualifying session there. So another 13-14 seconds to go, so very soon we'll be able to call the grid for you. I'll go back to Kevin and we'll just get some thoughts from you, Kevin, on what you think after talking to the drivers is going to happen in the GS class.
Well, and to sum it up quickly, I think that there's no way to predict it. I suspect that these drivers are probably going to try, at least the front of the GS field, they're probably going to try and run smooth, consistent laps and try and get in each other's draft and break away from the rest of the field. But I'm pretty certain that if there's a gap anywhere for a driver to make an opportunity to pass, he will jump on it. And then, you know, it's very possible that we might see a bunch of yellows here as drivers fight for these corners with their high entry speeds. So this is going to be a race where drivers are going to have to be ready to change their strategy on the fly, I think. But that's the best kind of racing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Do you think there'll be a lot of yellows today?
I hope not. You know, this is a track where it's not that difficult to actually run well and run hard without wrecking each other off, but it's also a track where, you know, it's a little easy to go deep under braking and accidentally hit the car in front of you. So, you know, if these guys are heads up, they can run really hard side by side, and we can avoid the yellows. So that's the hope, that we'll avoid those yellows.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the board here. There is about 7 seconds in lap times between the GS class and the ST class. So it's going to take them a while to catch up and start lapping the ST class. So hopefully with the separation we've got there, we'll see 2 separate classes of racing, at least for the first third or so of the race. But anyway, qualifying is completed and they'll be gridding up very soon. So Amjed, you've been watching the guys out there. What do you think is going to happen in the ST class today?
Well, it's going to be interesting. James Stevenson has dominated qualifying. You know, he's about a second and a half ahead of the field. And with Ellis having to start from the back of the field, I think this is going to be a walkaway for Stevenson.
Yeah, the thing that I always take from Road America is that it is very difficult to shake somebody off. Even if you are faster, the draft plays such an enormous role at this track that, you know, James may well have qualified with a 2:37.6, but it's going to take a while for him to shake everybody off. I'll get you to run through the field in ST class, Amjed, just so the folks at home can. All right, so we'll run through the whole field actually. So we'll start off with the GS class. Kevin.
Absolutely. Your pole position car and your leader in GS is Eric Smith with a 2:30.476. Second place is Steve Browne. Third is Dan Rash. Fourth, Russell Clayson. Third row is Arthur Hermont, Andre Trago. And seventh is Jason Breifogel. And eighth, Duljan Boldrin. Ninth will be Jonathan Auger. And 10th is Alexis Molina. 11th, Nicholas Bailey. 12th, Phil Schrader. 13th, Fred Masters. 14th, Chris Burrett. 15th, Scott Bircher. And your final GS qualifier will be Chris Duffy.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Kevin. Amjed, run us through the qualifying, the grid for the ST class really quickly.
Sure. On ST pole, we got James Stevenson with a 2:37.633. Right next to him is Chris Moraine. In third, Antti Tuominen with Erle Huffman on row 2. Row 3 has Stefan Moraine and Matthew Reinhold. They will be followed by William Randleman, Eric Biggs, Dexter Castro, Chuck Johnson, Ed Voras, David Whammond, Tom Eckline, Stephen Asbury, and at the tail of the field, Ayrton Ellis.
Now, folks, I noticed that James Stevenson disappeared for a minute there, and my mouth was dry when I thought about that, because he has had some problems with his internet connection in the past. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen tonight and he can finish the whole race. Kevin, they are starting off on the rolling start, so just talk us through a little bit as they go around.
Well, one thing I would like to point out is we saw 49 Motorsports, I think, in the ST class. I think they tried real hard to work together to get themselves drafts to boost themselves up for a pole position. It seems to kind of backfired. Ayrton Ellis didn't get a qualifying time. Dexter Castro is sitting in 25th overall, about in the second half of the ST pack. So I think that's a risk that they kind of went for and kind of lost.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I think that Ayrton was trying extra hard to get a good qualifying lap in, and it backfired on him. So he'll be starting right from the back, and the same thing with Dexter Castro. Both of those guys. Antti Tuominen did the best out of that team, because he'll be starting on the second row. As we see them go around now, just down that back straight area. The ST class I'm looking at the moment, led off by James Stevenson. It's all starting to shape up for a really good race. I'm hoping that'll be the case, because I love this track and it'll be good to see some good, hard, fast but clean racing, Kevin.
Absolutely, that's what I'm hoping for. This is such a great track when drivers race each other respectfully and can put on a fantastic show. So we're starting to see the drivers, the pace car is running in through turn 7 into the hurry downs, they're called, before we approach turn 8, which can be a good passing zone if you can make this work.
Yeah, I'm looking at the GS class now. Behind the pace car, we have Eric Smith there. Eric Smith has done really well in the races that he's contested in this series in terms of speed, but he hasn't been able to pull off any good results, Kevin.
Yeah, I believe he had one podium, but you know, this season of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series was his first ever shot at any sort of endurance race. So he's had to learn how to, learn some mini endurance racing skills and mixed class racing skills, which he just wasn't familiar with. You know, we knew that he had the raw speed in the Mustang to be able to make it go fast. We just weren't sure if he was going to be able to do that over 90 minutes. And he's shown that now he's learned that process as his finishes get better and better and better. He was a little unfortunate the last round in Indy to have some contact late in the race, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him walk away with a win today.
Yeah, he certainly has got the pace. Dan Rash, however, I noticed while you were talking to him, Dan Rash has belief in himself. He knows what he can do. He's very much the technician when it comes to working out how to run these cars, don't you think?
Yeah, Dan's an engineer by trade, I understand, and his brain really works toward that. But the field is formed up and has moved around coming around the last corner right now. So pace car should be ducking off, and we should be getting ready to go green.
All right, Kevin, and because the GS class will be firing off first, we get you to call it as they go forward towards the start-finish.
See, Eric Smith has taken control of the field as they approach the The flag, the green is up, and they are off. Eric's got what appears to be a good start, but Steve Browne has an even better start on the outside. Dan Rash closing up tight underneath the bumper. Eric Smith, they'll be on the inside for turn 1, which is probably a little more optimal. And let's see if these drivers keep clean. We're not seeing any action so far. There's a little action in the back. And back to ST.
And ST class are coming up to the start-finish. James Stevenson and Chris Moran right next to him. In fact, Chris Moran on the outside is in first place at the moment. James Stevenson catching up to him, hopefully into the turn 1. Right behind them, we have Antti and Elliot Huffman. So they approach turn 1 and into the turn. First is Chris Moran. We have Elliot Huffman, I believe, went really wide, hit the grass and the dirt there, and has come back on track safely, thank goodness. But right at the moment, it is Chris Moran followed by James Stevenson, and they have quite a little break on the rest of the field, which is followed by which is Antti Tuominen. So back to GS.
And we saw on the start, Steve Browne went a little wide on the exit turn 1. He subsequently lost second place and third place into turn 5 when Russell Clayson went deep on the brakes. But now Eric Smith is leading with Dan Rash in second and a little bit of a gap, but before Russell Clayson follows up in third, and then we have Steve Browne. The rest of the field seems to have been in order, but now we're shaking out. Somebody goes deep into 6.
And in the ST class, there was a big drag race down to that first hairpin, and James Stevenson won that race, and he is now in first position, and Chris Moran is settling in behind him in second place. Antti Tuominen is the third place getter at this point in time. Amjed, have you been looking further down the field? I'm really interested to see where Ayrton Ellis is at this point in time.
Yes, Ayrton's actually got a great start. He's up to 10th. He is right now behind Ed Voras in the carousel, going up to the kink. He's actually going to the outside right now, going too wide into the kink. This is going to be interesting. And Voras is led by Ayrton Ellis up to 9th place in ST.
Yes, it's a nice clean start, certainly in the ST class. What's happening in the GS class, Kevin?
I'm watching Nicholas Bailey and Jonathan Auger fighting for 10th place as they complete the lap through Canada 13 and 14. Right now they're side by side on the main straight, but it looks like Nicholas Bailey has a little bit of the edge, and yep, he's definitely got the lead, as we see now also Fred Masters moving past Jonathan Auger as well. So the poor exit onto the main straight for Auger is really hurting him, as he's going to lose 2 positions in one corner.
Well, in the ST class, Elliot Huffman has been the big loser. You'll recall that he started in 3rd place. He lost that by going wide into the very first turn, and currently he's sitting behind I think that is Ed Voras in front of him at the moment, although he makes a move going down the straight. He makes a move to the inside on Ed Voras, and it looks like he will take the position as they turn in. No, that's Stefan Morien, I believe. He's not giving up, so Stefan still holds him out. He's still on the inside, but he's tucked in a little way behind. He's decided the better of trying to get past Stefan right there. Although he comes back at him as they go around and they side by side once again. What will happen here as they drag down to that corner? I've got to get my track map out so I can see what the names of these corners are. So while that's all happening, back to you, Kevin, for GS.
And there's a great battle going on right now for 9th place overall with a large train. Jonathan Auger has managed to move in front of Fred Masters and Nicholas Bailey again, and we had some great side-by-side action through turns 3 and 5, but now Auger's got a lead over the group through the carousel, and he'll be looking to get a good run out of the kink. Up front, Eric Smith and Dan Rash are running pretty well together as they're trying to get a little bit of a gap onto Russell Clayson, but just haven't really been able to make that work. 4th place, Steve Browne. He had a rough first lap, but I think now that he's got his tire pressures up to snuff, he's running a little cleaner as he just went too wide there coming out of Canada, or excuse me, he dropped 2 wheels out of Canada. So we have a spinner somewhere. And Jason Breifogel has spun out of Canada. He's got some damage to his front right there. So he's unfortunate for him. It's pretty bad. I think his race might be over. So, yeah, looks like he just got a little too hot on entry and got loose and just couldn't recover before he ran out of track and hit the tire wall on the inside. So, fortunately, no full course yellow, but I'm sure Jason's probably kicking himself a little bit. He was having a good run in the middle of the pack so far.
And in the ST class, everything's been fairly clean. So far. At the moment, we have James Stevenson leading them quite comfortably at this point in time. Chris Moran still running in second place, which is great for Chris. Antti Tuominen is in third place. They are single file at the moment, although there's a challenge. Let me see what's happening there. Is it Chris? No, it's not Chris Moran. It is... Not sure. Can you see what's happening there, Amjed?
I've been watching the battle for 7th while Dexter Castro just making a move on the inside going into turn 3, and he's got it. Dexter Castro up to 6th place.
All right, so I'm with the play at the moment now. Ayrton Ellis, I might say, has improved his position a fair bit. He's coming up to the back of William Randleman at this point in time, with his teammates Eric Biggs and Dexter Castro in front of him. So it remains to be seen how he will fare. I notice, Kevin, that poor old Jason Breifogel is right in amongst showing amongst the ST class. So it looks like he's limping back to the pits.
No, he's back in pit lane right now. It looks like he's trying to get some repairs and hopefully fix his car up enough to run some more laps. All
right, so it seems to me that Eric Smith showing on the leaderboard as leading this race still with Dan Rash behind him. Dan Rash making a challenge on him right now, Kevin.
Yeah, I think Dan Rash has been sitting right under the rear wing of Eric Smith for a couple of laps now, and I think he just wants to get a little draft train going and see if they can't get away from Russell Clayson, because he's had some chances to make a move. As I see Eric Smith go really wide on the last corner, Dan's going to have essentially no option here, I think, but to go around him. Let's see what if he does indeed, and well, he looks like he's choosing to stay behind Eric Smith, so I'm a little surprised by that, because that's allowed Russell Clayson to close in on them by almost a second. So I would have thought that Dan Rash would have liked to get away from Russell Clayson, who's the most opportunistic breaker I've ever encountered, but he usually makes those stick. So, you know, if I was Dan Rash, I'd be trying to make sure I was up forward so I didn't have to worry about Russell being aggressive for that position.
Yeah, I was watching that. It seems like down the straightaways he's almost bump drafting Eric Smith, Kevin.
Yeah, he's definitely getting close, and maybe he's trying to save a little bit of fuel, but the Mustangs, it's not usually a good idea to try and bump draft if you can, because that tends to mess up the front end of the aerodynamics and really affect you, especially at a track like here. As you can see, Russell Clayson close up tremendously under braking. That's what Russell's good at, and he knows to capitalize on his strengths, and he's now right up there for that battle for the lead.
And Kevin, these guys are coming up to poor old Jason Breifogel, coming up to lap him. He's struggling around the track there. I'm not sure whether he's trying to get into the pits or he's come back out of the pits.
He has indeed come back out of the pits, so I'm not sure if his car is okay for him to be driving right now or not. I guess we'll have to see if he's going to return back to pit lane or if he's actually out there to maybe get some points for his championship hopes. But I suspect that he won't be trying to hold these guys up at all.
Yeah, just looking at the front of his car, there's some severe damage there, so his car is definitely sick as they go through the kink. That's probably not the best place for the pack to catch him. Although he's got a lead, he should be able to get through Canada before they reach him. So we hope that he can get his car repaired and get back out on track and continue with his race.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see that the top four are running real well. Steve Browne has managed to close up a little bit on the gap, so he's settled in a little bit. Our fifth place car, Arthur Hermont, is 5.4 seconds behind Eric Smith last time by, but he has Andre Trego just a couple of car lengths behind him as they approach the last corner here. So we'll see if Andre Trego can get a good run out onto the main straight and maybe make a move.
All right, and looking at the ST class as they come through the kink heading down towards Canada, James Stevenson is still in the lead. Chris Moran is following him very closely, so making good use of the draft there. Antti Tuominen as well. These three are our leaders at the moment. Stefan Morien's in fourth place. He's not that far behind either, although there is a little bit of a gap. And then we have Eric Biggs and Dexter Castro. Have you seen any good battles going on there, Amjed, in the ST?
Yes, Empton Eros on this lap has made up 2 spots. He has passed Reinhold and Randleman, and he is now up to 6th place behind Dexter Castro.
And guys, I had to jump in. Dan Rash has taken the overall lead with a nice maneuver right around on the Moraine sweep, right past Eric Smith. So our new overall leader is Dan Rash.
That's good stuff. Moraine sweep, we always say, is a good passing zone if you can get it, if you can put your nose in there. They are catching Jason Breifogel at the moment, and they'll all be on him in a little while, and hopefully everything goes well, that his car is handling well enough for him to keep out of their way, Kevin.
Yeah, I think Breifogel is a heads-up driver, and I'm sure he's got his eye on the mirror, and will make sure that this group is able to get around him safely.
Yeah, they are approaching the really fast section, just coming out of the carousel there, heading down towards the kink, so it must be pretty scary when you see these guys bearing down on you at 109 miles an hour and speeding up, and your car's limping around the corners.
Well, Jason he's scooting along. He's not holding back. I just saw he hit a track speed about 132 miles an hour, so he's definitely keeping his foot on the loud pedal and doing a pretty good job of not getting caught too quickly. So, like I said, I am confident that he will allow these guys to get around him cleanly and safely.
Yeah, perhaps I was premature in saying that he had a really bad car. He does seem to be able to hold some pace because these guys haven't caught up that much with him, although I'm pretty sure they will eventually catch him. As we see Dan Rash now extending his lead on Eric Smith, Kevin.
Yeah, Dan had an absolutely fantastic exit there out of that corner, the last corner, 14, and a great run out. So he's looking pretty racy right now, and probably going to try and extend his lead as much as he can. If he can break out of the draft of the cars following him, then that'll be nothing but good news for him.
Yeah, and behind him we have Eric Smith. Now, is that Steve Browne or is that we had Eric Smith. Russell Clayson is the third place getter. He's coming up onto the back of Eric Smith right now.
Yeah, Russell Clayson has been close to Eric for the last few laps, but hasn't been able to do anything about it. But he is close right now on the Moraine sweep, and with Russell being great on brakes, I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a move, as he does show his nose on the inside, but tucks back in line before turning in. And I'm starting to see Eric Smith miss a lot of apexes, so I'm wondering if he's starting to use up his front tires a little bit, because he's keeps kind of getting a little wide here, so either that or maybe he's breaking under the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, all right, we're going to have a look at what's happening in the ST class. Amjed, what's been happening over there?
At front, we still have Stevenson up in the lead. Closely behind is Chris Moraine. Antti Tuominen, he was in this 3-car battle, but he's kind of fallen off the pace a little bit. He's still in the draft, so they're coming out of turn 3 right now. Hopefully he can catch up to the top 2.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pack behind them, which is being led by Stefan Morien in 4th place. Eric Biggs is behind him there, and we have Dexter Castro behind them, and then Edson Ellis. So it seems like it's a race of 2 battles at the moment, as we see Dexter make a move on, I believe that was Eric Biggs, and takes the position as Eric went a little wide there. And now Eric is coming under threat from, I believe that's Ayrton Ellis. And Ayrton has taken Eric Biggs as well, so it's all shaking out a little bit as the faster drivers, dare I say, moving to the front there, Amjed. And Amjed, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just still watching this battle up at the front. Three car battle. Looks like Tooman is slowly but surely catching up to the top two, but it is strung out a little bit.
And there's a battle right now for second place overall as Russell Clayson has outbraked Eric Smith going into turn one, or at least carried more speed into. Eric was actually later on the brakes in turn one, and I'm pretty sure I've never seen anybody actually outbrake Russell before and still make the corner. So that was some good racing, but it's allowed Steve Browne to catch right up behind Eric Smith. So I'm sure Steve's probably salivating at the prospect to get back towards the front.
Yeah, as they head down to the Moraine sweep, it's a three-car battle here with Russell Clayson, Eric Smith, and Steve Browne. So this will be interesting as we see them hit, Kevin.
Yeah, Steve went just too deep into the corner and got into the back of Eric Smith, but looks like everybody's still together, still running. So Steve does have some damage to the front of the car, but I don't think that's going to be enough to retire him. But it may be too much for him to win the race unless he gets some luck with some cautions.
Yeah, if you have a front ender like that, that seemed to be pretty hard to me, so I'd guess he'd have a little bit of damage there, Kevin.
Yeah, Steve Browne definitely has damage on his front. Eric Smith seems to have gotten pretty lucky and doesn't appear to have much in the way of the damage to the rear of his car, but either way, that wouldn't really hold him up as much as the damage to the front of Steve Browne's car will hold him up.
Yeah.
In ST, Elton Ellis just got past Dexter Castro for 5th. So in 7 laps, Elton Ellis has gone from the back of the field to the top 5. Not bad.
That is not bad indeed, and he's looking to chase down Stefan Morien now in 4th place. So we might just run through the field a little bit, starting with the GS class, Kevin.
Yeah, well, our overall race leader is Dan Rash. Sitting in second currently is Russell Clayson, and he is about 2.5 seconds behind last time by the line. In third is Eric Smith, 4th Steve Browne, 5th Arthur Hermont, and 6th in Alexis Molina. Amjed, what does the top 6 in ST look like?
Up at the front, we got James Stevenson, followed closely by Chris Moraine and Antti Tuominen. Behind them is Stefan Moraine, Elton Ellis, and Dexter Castro.
Yeah, and it seems to me that these 5, with possibly Stefan Morien as well in there, I hope that these two, I hope that Stefan and Ayrton can catch up to the leaders, because that'll make it really interesting as we see James Stevenson still leading, heading down towards Canada. Chris Moran following very closely behind him in the draft, and Antti Tuominen seeming to just sit behind there waiting for his chance for these two in front to perhaps make a mistake. Amjed?
Yeah, I'm still watching Ellis right now. He's slowly but surely getting up to the rear bumper of Stefan Moraine. Give it another lap or two, and I think he'll be there.
Yeah, he's certainly doing that. At the moment, it's, with a small field like this, a large track, we say small, there are 30 cars in total, even more than 30 cars in this field. Let me see. 31 cars. Stephen Asbury is 3 laps down showing at the moment.
He's disconnected. At the beginning of the race, I think he's having internet problems because he is shown as disconnected.
Yeah, that's a pity, because that means he's retired from 2 races now that I know of. Jason Breifogel still circulating, but certainly 1 lap down. Everyone else is running, so we are looking at 29 cars on the track. But this is a pretty long track, so, once they start spreading out, it could become a procession very quickly. What do you think, Kevin?
For the most part, but I did get to see a nice little pass between Andre Trago and Nicholas Bailey, or excuse me, Duiljean Boldrin last time by into turn 1. But the battle for 7th has been a nice one between Duiljean Boldrin, Andre Trago, and Nicholas Bailey. These guys have been very close for most of the race, and are occasionally swapping positions here as these want some good consistent speed between the three of them.
Battle for 4th and ST. Elton has just got past Stefan Morien for 4th place. Did it just in turn 6, hitting the turn 7 right now. Elton is up to 4th place.
That's an excellent run from Ayrton. He's got some work to do now to catch up to the tail of Antti-Tuominen though, because they've got a fair lead. Mind you, perhaps with a little bit of help from Stefan Morien, the two of them might work together, even though they are not teammates, to pull themselves up to the rest of the group up in 1st, 2nd and 3rd place. But it's going to be a race from this point onwards, because having passed, dare I say, some of the slower cars, not that I think Stefan is slow, because he's hanging on to the back of Ayrton Ellis as they head towards Canada Corner, and in fact has a bit of a look on the outside. They're going in side by side. What will happen here? Ayrton breaks early, goes through. Stefan braked a bit early there and allowed Ayrton to carry on through that corner. But for a moment just then, as Stefan now comes under threat from Dexter Castro, for a moment I thought it might be a little hairy there, Amjed.
Yeah, and they battle. It's allowing the top 3 to go ahead, because when Elton got 4th place, he was about 4 seconds off the main pack. Now they're falling back to about 5.5 seconds off the top.
Amjed, let me just break in there. We do have a strong challenge from Dexter Castro on Stefan Morien. And it seems like these three, as they head up to turn 1, they're virtually coming in through together, side by side. And somebody went wide there. Was that Dexter that went? No, Dexter got through. And Erik was fine as well. So it looks like Stefan was the loser out of that lot there, Amjed.
Yeah, and like I said, the longer they battle, they'll lose in touch with the top 3. So I know they're not teammates, but they really should start working together.
Yeah, it's a long track, and you really need to work with someone to be able to get a proper run if you're trying to catch up to the leaders. Mind you, these guys are quite close together and having their own battle, and it's a good battle. You're Stefan Morien, Eric Biggs, and Dexter Castro just in front of him. Ayrton Ellis, by the looks of it now, has pulled quite a large gap on Dexter, so he's struggling or looking to try and catch up with the top 3. James Stevenson still very much in command of this race, with Chris Moran and Antti following. But it's early days yet. We're on lap 9. Bear in mind this is a 90-minute race. 90 minutes, hour and a half, so it will shake out a little later as the pit stops start to take their effect. Back at the GS side of things, what's happening over there, Kevin?
Well, the best battle on track for the GS lead is the battle for 7th through 9th between Duiljean Boldrin, Andre Trago, and Nicholas Bailey. Kind of keeps opening up and closing a little bit, but right now we see Andre Trago is right behind Duiljean Boldrin as they come into the Marine sweep. Duiljean goes defensive under braking, and they're side by side. We'll see what Andre Trago can do. Andre stays wide, and that's going to shake out exactly as it was last time around. So these guys are very close, but they're having difficulties getting the passing done. But it's kind of one lap one car will be faster, and another lap the other car will be faster between these guys. So they keep kind of getting closer and further away as it shakes up.
Yeah, I did notice that Duiljean went defensive there, approaching the Lorraine sweep, and the guy behind him, Andre, just gave him that respect and decided not to try any move on him. But meanwhile, Nicholas Bailey behind, has he actually caught up, or is he maintaining his distance, or what's the situation there?
He's been part of that three-car battle, so he was a little closer on the last lap, and they moved away from him a little bit on this lap, and now he's kind of closing back up again. So this is what these three guys have been doing, have been kind of, overall, they've been maintaining about the same gap to the lead, but they're in between themselves. They kind of keep moving back and forth and changing the gap distance.
Yeah, it's still at lap 10. One thing I want to mention, which is a good thing, there's been no cautions to date, Kevin.
Well, you may have just thrown down the commentator's curse, but yeah, we are happy we haven't seen any cautions yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if our second place and third place cars, Russell Klesa and Eric Smith, if they're hoping for a caution, because they are sitting more than 5 and 6 seconds away from Dan Rash, our overall leader. So they are clearly losing out on clean air pace to Dan Rash. So they probably need some help to catch up, as there's a nice battle here between Jules-Jean Boldrin and Andre Trego. Andre Trego's going to look to the outside going into turn 1. He's side by side. Jules-Jean Boldrin's on the inside, and looks like they're going to go side by side. Trego's still there. They're still side by side all the way through the corner. Out on exit, Nicholas Bailey looks to take advantage on the inside, approaching turn 3, and it's not going to work too much. Nope, they're still going to... oh boy, Andre Trego goes wide, and he's going to loop it on the outside of... And he's a beautiful 360 and back on his way as Jonathan Auger moves right past him.
That was a, you said it correctly, that was a beautiful 360. He went right around and was pointing in the right direction, kept going. But I noticed that Jules-Jean Boldrin is not willing to be overtaken at any cost. He goes defensive the moment somebody tries a move on him, Kevin.
Well, he may feel a little more comfortable running from the lead than behind another car. So, you know, it's okay, I think. And, you know, if these guys are spreading out, you know, keep spreading out throughout the field as they have, the likelihood of a caution kind of gets less and less. So, you know, right now maybe he's thinking that track position is just unbelievably critical, which I won't disagree with right now.
Yeah. I have to say that if this goes on for much longer, it's been pretty exciting to date, with a good number of battles going on between drivers and small packs working, fighting with each other, I should say. But if this carries on for, say, another half an hour or so, then us commentators are going to be wishing for a caution so things can be pulled back together again.
Well, there's still a couple of battles out and about for 5th overall. Arthur Hermont and Alexis Molina have been running about a second apart for most of this entire race. So Arthur Hermont in that bright red car having a nice run, and Alexis Molina just keeps trying to close down but can't seem to make it happen.
Well, I'm going to jump back over to the ST side, and I was just watching Chris Moran. He was right on the bumper of James Stevenson as they went into the Moran sweep, and as they come out heading towards the Hurry Downs, he's still right behind James Stevenson. So this is the thing James was talking about earlier, where you cannot get away from somebody. The draft is just has such a large impact on the race that you know, you've got to fight, as we see Chris Moran going to the outside, which I guess is not the best place to be through the carousel. You want to be in as tight as possible to get around there, otherwise you might find yourself going wide on the exit. And as they head down towards the kink, it's still those three there, Amjed, and they seem to have put a bit of daylight between themselves and Ayrton Ellis, who... And James Stevenson went really wide there, and he really, oh my gosh, he nearly lost it there, Amjed.
Yeah, I've been watching the battle for 5th. These three guys, Castro, Biggs, and Moran, have not been doing themselves any favors right now. They've lost pack with Ayrton because they've been fighting it out for the past couple of laps. Yeah, right now, Ayrton, it's kind of in no man's land. He's ahead of the battle for 5th, but he's also behind the battle for 1st. So he's kind of in the worst of both worlds because he's not getting the draft.
Yeah, that's true. So the others all have a draft working for them, behind and in front of him. You're quite right, he's in a bit of no man's land. Mind you, having said that, his last lap was a pretty good one, 2:39.416. So let me just check what the others are doing.
Yeah, in comparison to Castro in 5th, Castro's last lap was a 2:40.7, which is about 7/10 faster. Els is lapping 7/10 faster than Castro right now.
Okay, looking at James Stevenson at the front, who's done his last lap was a 2:39.8, and Ayrton did a 2:39.4. So that's 4/10 of a second. So he is catching them slightly, Amjed.
Yeah, ever so slightly, but without a draft, he's gonna have to catch up with the pit stops, and we're approaching the lap pit stop window. So expect some of the people that like to pit early, they may come in the next couple of laps or so.
Yeah.
And guys, I have a passing attempt right now as Alexis Molina looks to the inside of Arthur Herman on turn 1. He got the draft. He's a little bit in front, but he brakes a little earlier, and they're going to go side by side. And Alexis Molina is going to tuck back in and follow around for turn 1. So that battle is just getting a little hotter right now.
So we'll watch this a little bit, because Arthur Herman and Alexis Molina, they are very, very close to each other. So we'll see what happens as they go down to the Moraine sweep. But Kevin?
Yeah, just keeping an eye on them. And Alexis Molina seems to be a little bit quicker in the draft behind Arthur Herman. I don't know if that means that he has the overall speed, as he's going to look to the inside coming into turn 5. He's late on the brakes, and no, he's going to give it. No, he's still side by side. As Herman starts getting loose on the outside, they're side by side. Herman's getting shoved wide a little bit, and they're going to approach turn 6 side by side. This is a difficult place to go side by side. Let's see what they do. They're going nice and slow, tiptoeing through there. Get back on the power. Herman might have the position on the inside. No, he's going to tuck back in on the inside, behind Molina. So Molina does eventually get that position.
Yeah, they certainly tiptoed through that the Hurry Downs there. It's not a place you want to get loose, because you'll be way off track. And fighting with someone else to get position is tough when you're going through these tight corners for these very heavy cars, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And that turn 6, it's over a crest and then a tight left-hander, and the car just kind of really feels like it's on the edge of adhesion, no matter how slow you're going. So it's a difficult place to pass. And I'm watching Molina look like he's just a little bit quicker, as he seems to be having a nice gap out of the kink approaching Canada corner on the brakes. So maybe Alexis Molina is a little bit of the quicker car right now, and taking advantage of that.
Yeah. Amjed, I just want to say that if you do see something happening in the ST, I'm jumping between GS and ST at this point in time. If you see something interesting happening in the ST class, do not hesitate to break in and tell us about it.
Yeah, no problem. Right now, everything's status quo. Nothing has changed so far.
Mind you, it's still
and
a
as I
solid
say
battle.
that, there's a battle for fifth right now, as Morian's going to the inside, going into turn 5. Breaking battle, and Castro is going to win this battle. So hang on, he goes wide, but he hangs on. Castro still in 5th.
And followed by Stefan Morien and Eric Biggs. So these three have been battling it out just as the top 3 have been doing so. And we have a spin. Chris Moran just spun his car, went out on the grass. He's losing his 3rd place. Certainly Ayrton Ellis will catch up to him, as he has to now get back up to speed. So what is happening? Ayrton's coming around. Where is...
Ayrton has actually passed Moran. Ayrton's on the podium right now. So in 13 laps, Ayrton Ellis has gone from the back of the field to a 3rd place. He's right now he's in 3rd place, so he's doing a very good job.
Well, it might be time for us to run through the placings once again. I don't think much has changed in GS class, but do run through it with us, Kevin.
Okay, well, our overall leader is Dan Rash. He has a 9.9 second lead over second place Russell Clayson, who has lost some ground to Eric Smith, who's about a half second behind him. And fourth is Steve Browne, who's still managing to put down some pretty good times, even with his mangled front end. In fifth place is Alexis Molina, and sixth, Arthur Hermont, in that battle that we were watching not too long ago. And over in ST.
In ST, we have James Stevenson still leading. Right behind him is Antti Tuominen. Ayrton Ellis has moved up to third place thanks to the Chris Moran spin. He's in fourth place right now. And in fifth place, Dexter Castro.
Okay, well, at this point in time, I'll just talk to our director. Do you think we should go to a break at this stage, director? All right. Folks, we are going to take a short break. We'll be right back with you to call the action very soon. Welcome back, folks, to the Global Sim Racing channel at Road America. While we were on the break, we've had significant developments. One of the cars spun out, and we'll get Kevin to talk about that. Kevin? All right, what happened there? Kevin's not with us just at the moment. Arthur Hermont, going into Canada Corner, lost his FFB, and for those of you who are iRacers, FFB is your the force feedback to your wheel. He lost it entirely and spun out and hit the wall just off Canada Corner. That has brought out the caution flag, and no doubt everybody will be hurrying into the pits at this point in time to change tires and get some more fuel. Amjed, is that what's happening?
They're still gridding up, but yeah, I would expect everyone to pit right now. This is a perfect time, almost halfway through the race.
Yeah, I'm just watching the ST class, James Stevenson coming around. We'll see what he does as he's leading the ST class. They're still racing pretty hard in ST because, of course, they have to catch up to the GS class. So for them, it's pretty much the race still being on. Going to the front and having a look at Dan Rash. Let's see what's happening. Dan is... Can't see where Dan is at the moment. But no doubt he will be thinking about pitting at this point in time for sure. Dan is coming, it's just come out of the moraine sweep and heading down behind the pace car. So let's see what happens as they all slow up behind the pace car now. They've just caught up to the pace car. We have a couple of ST drivers in there just behind Dan Rash. So this will be interesting. We'll follow this around for a little while. And Kevin, are you back with us?
I am. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem. We were just talking about the caution that took place. It seems that Arthur Hermont lost his FFB as he was approaching Canada Corner, probably the worst place that you can lose your FFB. Force feedback, and he went off track and hit the wall pretty hard, and not a happy person at this point in time, Kevin.
No, I can imagine. I've had a similar thing happen before, and it's enough to drive you crazy to just suddenly have a malfunction like that you can't control.
That's right, and that's caused the caution. So we have the pace car out on track at the moment. Dan Rash is the driver directly behind the pace car, and then we have a whole bunch of ST cars, well, 3 or 4 at least, behind them before we see any more GS cars. So we were talking, myself and Amjed, while you were away, that this might be an opportune time to pit as we're just about halfway through the race, Kevin.
Yeah, the maximum number of green flag laps that the GS Mustangs can run are 18. So sitting here on lap 16, this is a perfect time for them to pit. So it would be insane. Actually, I'd have to say to not pit. So these guys are probably all going to file in here right this time by.
Yeah, as they're coming through they're approaching the final turn. Before heading down the main straight once again. So we'll see what Dan Rash does now, but like you said, I expect everyone to head into pit lane. As Dan Rash does, we have one ST driver who decides to stay out, 2 ST drivers staying out. The rest, I think, are wisely pitting. Looks to me like that's Elliot Huffman that's decided to stay out, and Jason Breifogel has stayed out as well, Kevin.
Yeah, I expected him to, since he stopped earlier to deal with that damage, so he can probably go a couple extra laps on fuel than everybody else.
Yeah, but most of the other drivers are all pitting, so let's have a look at these drivers to see how long it takes for them to do a pit stop here as they all file into their pit stalls. In fact, practically the whole field is in the pits right now.
Yep, and we're seeing everybody take left side tires, and I assume right sides as well, since 90 minutes here is probably a little long to go at Road America on one set of tires. So I think 4 tires is the safe thing to do.
Absolutely, 4 tires, as Dan Rash is the first one to come out of the pits. He's followed Eric Smith coming out as well. Eric Smith was slightly slower than the third place driver, but because he was higher up in the pit stalls, he managed to get out before the other driver, which was Russell Clayson, I believe. So these 3 are out on track again and catching up to the pace car right now.
Well, that was a nice maneuver for Eric Smith to actually jump Russell Clayson, because he was that was for position. Russell Clayson did have second position last time by the scoring board.
Yeah, Russell seemed to just take like half a second or second slower, and that was enough to give Eric Smith, because he had qualified a little better, he had a better pit stall to get out in front of Russell.
So, Amjed, what are we seeing with ST? Is everybody taking 4 tires, or are some guys doing 2 tires only?
I haven't seen. I would assume 4 tires would be the way to go, considering that they have to fill up. And hang on. Auntie Tuman has just jumped James Stevenson in the pits. Right now they're exiting pit lane. But yes, Auntie Tuman is now your leader in ST.
Ah, that's interesting. So the obviously at this time with the pits taking place, the leaderboard shows completely different to what's actually happening out on track. So we're going to have to run down what's happening at the moment. It looks to me like in the GS class, Dan Rash is leading with Eric Smith and then Russell Clayson behind him. What else is happening there, Kevin?
Well, we saw that Steve Browne had a longer pit stop. He has fallen down to 6. I'm not entirely sure why he had a longer pit stop. Maybe that was to repair some of the damage he had. Not really sure, but he's currently sitting in 6th overall.
All right, and running down the ST class, James Stevenson is still... No, James Stevenson is in 2nd place in the ST class. Now, Antti Tuominen, as Amjed said, is in fact in 1st place. Then we have James Stevenson, and he is followed by Ayrton Ellis in 3rd place trying to catch up, as they all will before the caution finishes, no doubt. Chris Moran is the next best, and he's being followed by Dexter Castro. So that's your top 5 in ST. It's going to be very, very interesting on the restart to see these guys battle for position. Amjed?
Yeah, I mean, as we saw, the field kind of broke up there. You had the top 3, and then you had Ellis in no man's land. With this caution, everything's be bunched backed up now, so we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So let's just see where's our pace car at the moment, Kevin? It's the lights are out on the pace car, so this will be the last pace lap, and then we'll see the action take place once again. Now, Alexis Molina is directly behind the pace car at this point in time, so Dan Rash behind him. So we expect, he's got a damaged car, Alexis, so we expect Dan Rash to make short work of passing Alexis Molina, and the others filing past as well. So the restart is going to be very interesting, Kevin. And we seem to have lost Kevin. He must be having some technical problems there. So we'll continue. Keep an eye on the ST class, Amjed, and I will call the race start.
No, sorry about that, Richard. I was just doing a chore for our director right there.
Alrighty. Okay, well, we see a wave by happening. William Randleman flying past the pace car. He's got a very long way to catch up to the field once again as he comes round. Pace car lights are out, Kevin, so we're looking for a restart very soon.
Oh, it sounds like, though, that the marshal and the drivers are having a bunch of conversation about processes right now, so I hope they can get this cleared up so that we can go green.
Well, the lights are out on the pace car, so one would assume that we're going to have a restart on next time by the line. It's all a bit confusing at the moment, but we'll see what happens. The pace car is, they're going down to the, where are they on the track right now? Let's
Turn
see.
8.
Turn number 8. They are going through and approaching the carousel. And after that, they'll go down that long straight and through Canada corner, through the last corner, and then we'll have a restart. So hopefully that will take place. They're all bunched up again now, so it's like the race has been run in 2 halves, Kevin. The first half shook out to a point where we had our leaders well in front of everyone else, but now that they're all bunched up, it's a new ball game altogether.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Richard. And so now we're going to see what everybody has for the second half of this race. Some cards have been played, so drivers know what's up the other driver's sleeve. So now it's all to go.
Yeah, the thing is, what's happened here is that because the race is being played out in 2 halves, the pit stops, in fact, having been done under yellow, had really no effect. There may have been the odd driver who jumped another one, but the pit stops really have had no effect whatsoever. The strategy is out the window at this point in time. It's the fastest man wins right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that suits many a driver in this field.
Yeah, we'll see. Alexis Molina is in the front of Dan Rash, so he's going to be a car that everyone has to pass in the GS class before they can start racing each other. So that's going to be interesting, Kevin.
Well, I believe Alexis is going to, yeah, he's entering pit lane right now, right behind the pace car as Dan Rash takes control of the field.
All right, call this a restart for us, Kevin.
All right, so we can see Dan Rash has crested the hill, and the green is down, and they are off. As everybody's in line right now, it looks like Russell Clayson's getting ready to move on the inside of Eric Smith. He might have a good run right here as we see him moving closely. There's some drivers side by side. Dan Rash goes defensive, approaching turn 1. Russell Clayson is on the inside. Eric Smith looks like he's got the edge as they approach turn 1, but no, Russell Clayson, the master on the brakes, is making that position, and he's got the lead down in front of Eric Smith down into turn 3 as Dan Rash looks to be taking a nice lead once again.
In an ST, we have a lead change. James Stevenson in the turn 1, hard on the brakes, passes Tuman, and so James Stevenson's now leading in ST.
And these the cars in front of James must be lapped cars, as we see Antti Tuominen coming side by side with James Stevenson. They're behind Stefan Morien. This is going to end in tears if they keep it this way at the moment. James Stevenson pushing towards the sweeper, and Antti moving on the inside. James goes wide to give him room, but manages to come back on track in front of... and we have a caution. We've had another crash. Did anyone see what happened there? I suspected that this would end in tears. It seems that Ayrton Ellis had a little spin and made contact with Stefan Morien. I'm looking at his car right now. It seems to be okay, but they certainly back on a caution. Isn't it always the case that one caution breeds another, Kevin?
Yep, that's the old racing saying that yellows breed yellows, and we're seeing it again here. However, one driver is quite pleased with that is Steve Browne. He was able to get in front of Dualjan Boldrin as in under braking for turn 5. But so now these guys have to kind of reset and get loaded again, and maybe the marshals will be taking these guys to task and remind them to run clean so we can get some green laps for the end of this race.
Yes, well, we had half the race run under green before that first caution. I'm not unhappy that we did have that caution. It is going to make the last half of the race pretty exciting. This should be a short caution because we haven't got any cars really holding up the proceedings. So this will be a short caution. A short caution being 3 laps, so it's going to be quite long anyway because of the long track. But hopefully they'll get underway in a little while. It might be an opportune moment for us to take another break, Director. What do you think? We are taking a break, folks. We'll be back very soon and hopefully bring you some green flag action. Welcome back to the Continental Sports Car Series, folks. We have had another caution which followed the first caution pretty rapidly. However, the pace car is on its final lap. The lights are out on the pace car. The drivers are getting themselves ready for a restart. At this point in time, we have about 20 minutes of the race left. So it is going to be a sprint to the finish. Kevin?
Yeah, we actually have 25 minutes left, but you're absolutely right on the sprint to the finish. These guys, there's nothing left, no more pit stops to make, so they're on fresh rubber. They got a full tank of fuel, and they will go at it, hand-to-hand combat for the rest of this race, unless there's some more full course yellows.
All right, let's run through the standings so we can see what's happening before the start. GS first, Kevin?
Absolutely. We have our overall leader is Dan Rash, as he has led almost this entire race. In second place, Russell Clayson. Third, Eric Smith. Fourth, Nicholas Bailey. Fifth, Steve Browne. Sixth, Dualjan Boldrin. Seventh, Andre Trago. Eighth, Chris Burt. Ninth, Phil Schrader. 10th, Fred Masters. And 11th, Jonathan Auger, before we get to the first of the STs.
And Amjed, call the ST class for us, please.
Yes, Lean ST. We got James Stevenson, followed by Antti Tuominen, Chris Moran, Eric Biggs, Stefan Moran, Matthew Reinhold, Dexter Castro, Elliot Huffman, and in 10th place is Elton Ellis, who had to take a pit during this caution period.
Yes, now we do have some flies in the ointment, so to speak. I see that in amongst the ST class we have a couple of GS drivers. Chris Duffy's in there, and Jason Breifogel, and also Alexis Molina. So they could spice things up on the restart, Kevin.
Well, Alexis Molina is busy trying to catch up to the back of the field, so I'm not too worried about him. Chris Duffy and Jason Breifogel, however, being in the middle of the ST cars could have an effect, but fortunately with the long main straight should be able to get by the ST cars very quickly, and maybe even by turn 1.
Really? Because they have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 ST class drivers to pass, both of them, before they get into turn 1. I'm of the opinion it could be a bit dicey, Kevin.
Well, that's true. They are allowed to go, at least those two GS drivers, they are allowed to pass those ST cars as soon as the green flag flies. Yeah, it's possible they could do it, and they may have to wait off. But we see the pace car pull in right now as Dan Rash takes control of the field once again.
All right, call the restart for us, Kevin.
Okay, the green flag has flown. Dan Rash is on the throttle, and off they go. Steve Browne looks to the inside of Dualjan Boldrin, or excuse me, Nicholas Bailey. Russell Clayson goes defensive on the inside. Eric Smith's on the outside. This looks like a carbon copy of last time by, and looks like Steve Browne's going to get the position over Nicholas Bailey for 4th overall, and he's going to sneak up on the inside of Eric Smith. So Steve Browne gets 2 cars on the restart. Well done there.
And Amjed, what's happened in the ST class
We have a
battle restart?
Battle for first place in ST. 2 minutes on the inside going to turn 1. Gets the position. Yes, Antti Tuominen is now leading in ST.
And just behind them, Chris Moran fighting with James Stevenson, and Eric Biggs in there as well. Stefan Morien, Elton Ellis. These guys have a fierce battle coming down towards the Moraine sweep. As we see Antti going through the sweeper now. The others are practically 3 wide. Chris Moran safely through, Stefan Morien safely through, James Stevenson safely through. Looks like they all got through safely, so that I'm breathing a sigh of relief, because the last thing we wanted was another caution there, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm just going to toot my horn a little bit because Jason Breifogel and Chris Duffy did clear the ST field before turn 1. So, but we see Dan Rash is running well at the front of the field as he's trying to gap Russell Clayson through the carousel, and that's a place where Dan Rash is consistently fast through that corner. But I think we got Steve Browne sitting in 3rd place, and I know from past experience that he really wants to get in front of Russell Clayson. He wants that 2nd place back, and he wants it bad.
Yeah, Russell's run a very good race this race. At one point he was down in 3rd place. He's challenged with Eric Smith early on in the race, took the 2nd place, and is holding it down with some comfort at the moment, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. But Steve Browne sitting there, you know, he still feels a little raw. I think that he didn't get that win 2 rounds ago when Russell Clayson pipped him on the restart at Watkins Glen. So I think Steve Browne kind of wants to get a little personal satisfaction here and get around Russell Clayson, as he's looking very fast right now.
In ST,
Yeah.
Stefan Morian losing a lot of positions. He went wide going to Canada. He is now in 7th on the outside of Huffman going in, and he's off. Morian's off again. He's going to lose even more positions.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. Stefan Morian has had a tendency from time to time to go off track and lose positions, as we see Antti Tuominen leading this ST class at the moment, with James Stevenson challenging as they come down to turn 1. James Stevenson doesn't actually try to make any move, stays behind him safely in line as they head down now towards the sweeper. Now he comes out onto the inside as they take turn 3. Now he's on to the back of Antti quite strongly, and let's see if he makes a challenge as they go down to the Moraine sweep. He's certainly in the draft at the moment, and will he pull out to the inside to make a challenge, or will he stay in line? He moves out to the inside as we see Antti going defensive there for the inside to the corner, but James Stevenson makes a challenge, and behind them there's another challenge between Eric Biggs and Chris Moran. So they went through there 2 wide and 2 wide just behind them, Amjed.
Yes, Moran's got one spot back. He is now back into, let me check in one moment.
Well, at the moment I can tell you that James Stevenson has regained the lead and is now in charge of this race in the ST class, followed by Antti Tuominen. A little way back we have Chris Moran, who is under threat or under challenge by Eric Biggs. So like we said at the beginning of this restart, Kevin, it's throw caution to the winds and race to the end now.
Yeah, and we're seeing that in the GS field. All these guys are taking every inch of track and a little bit extra in a lot of places. So I'm seeing a lot of dirt getting thrown up at the exit of almost every single corner. But right now, Dan Rash is still
Battle
holding the
for
overall
the ST lead. 2 men going on the inside, going into Canada. Brickenville going on right now, and 2 men will come out on top. He is, yes, 2 men is now leading the ST field.
These guys are now going at it hammer and tongs, as we were saying. James Stevenson right on the back of Antti Tuominen at this point in time. Chris Moran and Eric Biggs not far behind. And Dexter Castro is in there in 5th place as well. So the ST class are certainly fighting it out. What's happening in GS, Kevin?
Well, the best battle right here is between Nicholas Bailey and Eric Smith fighting for 4th place. Eric Smith has that 4th place position right now, but he seems to be struggling a little bit with grip overall. I'm not sure why, but he has Nicholas Bailey and Dualjan Boldrin kind of all over him, and I'm waiting for one of them to take effect. As I see in front of Steve Browne, Russell Clayson's having some connection problems, and that's going to really affect Steve Browne's driving ability to have Russell kind of popping in and out on him, as we call it. And a little further back, it looks like Nicholas Bailey is on the inside of Eric Smith, and looks like he's got the edge as they go into turn 5 under braking, and both hard on the brakes. Nicholas Bailey's on the inside. Eric Smith's trying to get a good run out. They're going to go side by side through into turn 6. Let's see what they can do here as they're careful on the brakes, careful on the throttle, side by side still. Eric Smith's going to have the inside into 7. Let's see what he can do here, but he's going to tuck in behind Nicholas Bailey. That was a nice pass over several corners there. Well done.
There was a huge ST battle going right now. Five cars right now. Actually, Stevenson has just taken the lead. Both Stevenson and Tuominen have been swapping positions for the past couple of turns. And as they hurry down to turn 7, it looks like Stevenson is gonna get a little bit of a breakaway.
Yeah, there's 2, 4, 5 cars. They're all in with a chance here. James Stevenson has broken away slightly. It's time to put the hammer down, and you'll see the top drivers do that right now. I noticed in the GS class, Kevin, that Dan Rash has really put the hammer down, and he's...
Yeah, Dan's having a great run right now. He's got about a 1.4 second lead last time by over start finish over Russell Clayson. And Russell is no doubt running as hard as he can to stay in front of Steve Browne, who's also pushing really hard. So these three drivers are going really, really hard, as you can tell by how much track they're using on exit of and entry of every single corner.
In ST, Dexter Castro's up to third place. Chris Moraine actually ran right going into the kink, so that allowed Castro to get through.
And a little further back, it looks like Eric Smith's going to he's going to take the edge, repass Nicholas Bailey into turn one. That's what, as Nicholas gets way up close under braking in the middle of the apex and gets a little loose on exit. And now we have drivers almost four wide a little bit as they stack up on the approach to turn three. But Eric Smith's gotten that position back. Now he needs to get a good run out as they're going to approach the Moraine sweep if he wants to hold that position from Nicholas Bailey and Duljan Boldrin.
Okay, in SC, Moran was trying to get his position back into third place in going to turn one, but Castro was able to hang on. Moran's coming back on the inside going to turn three. They're going too wide into turn three. Castro outbrakes Moran. Let's see. Castro's going to get the run out going into turn five.
And a little further back in the GS field, Duljan Boldrin and Nicholas Bailey going side by side. Duljan Boldrin got the edge and managed to get in front of Nicholas Bailey. And these guys are middle of the GS field is really going at it hammer and tongs. As one guy makes a little bit of a mistake, it allows the next guy to get right back around.
Wow, Moran almost touched Castro going into turn five. Now we got a full-car battle for second as Stevenson is now breaking away from the field. A little bubble in first place. Who's that goes? Well, I think that's Moreno. That goes wide. Yeah, Chris Moran went wide, and he's now back into fifth place.
Well, this is definitely the battle right now, is this lead for the ST battle, as Dan Rash has kind of checked out in GS a little bit. He has almost a 2-second lead. So Amjed, do you think that Anti's got a chance here to hang with James Stevenson and repass for the lead?
Yeah, Anti's still in the draft right now, with Stevenson going into the kink. So let's give it another lap, and who should be right back in the rear bumper.
Okay. Well, and how's Eric Biggs been running? I see that he's right. There's a whole slew of 49 Motorsports cars together. Are they being pretty fair running together?
Yeah, he's been playing it patient. Got a spot when Moran ran off right earlier in the lap. So it looks like he's just taking his time, seeing what's going to happen, and if something happens in front of him, he's going to capitalize on it.
Okay, and it looks like Richard Losper is back. It looks like he had a little bit of technical problems. So, Richard, glad to have you back.
Yes, I did have some technical problems. Unfortunately, Kevin and Amjed, we are dependent on these things called computers to make all of this happen, and my computer just froze there. Restarting, and I'll be back in a second as soon as I can see what the action is on the screen.
Okay, well, popping back up towards the GS field, Russell Clayson and Steve Browne are starting to get closer and closer here for the battle for second place. Steve Browne's kind of stalking Russell Clayson a little bit, and I think he's looking pretty racy. I don't know, however, if he has enough to get around Russell Clayson right now, with only 11 minutes left. We know Russell Clayson is good under brakes, and when you're in the lead at this track over another car, being good on the brakes is always an advantage.
And I'm watching the ST class at this point in time. James Stevenson leading the race. Antti Tuominen right behind him as they go down that long straight towards the Moraine sweep. Just behind them now, it seems that Dexter Castro is in third place. And they followed by Eric Biggs. So things have changed while I've been away.
Tuominen tried to go on the outside, going to the kink on Stevenson. It failed, so now Stevenson's got a little bit of a gap in the lead.
All right, guys. At this point in time, our field is it's very much towards the end of the race now. There can't be that much time left in this race. So it's everybody pay attention and do the best thing you can. Block, go wide, go narrow, whatever you need to do to stay in front of the guy in front of you. So, or behind you, I should say. At this point in time, James Stevenson in command of the ST class. What is happening in the GS class, Kevin?
Well, right now, the best battle on track is between Russell Clayson and Steve Browne for second. These two are driving about as hard as they can right now to get the edge over each other, because it looks like Dan Rash is in absolute control of the lead over here, as he has now got almost a 4-second lead over second and third. But Russell Clayson and Steve Browne are going at it, and Steve Browne keeps getting a little closer to Russell, as maybe Russell's starting to bake off his front tires, perhaps. But as I've said, I'm certain that Steve Browne desperately wants to get around Russell Clayson, and I expect to see a move, probably maybe on the last lap, if unless Russell makes a mistake beforehand.
Yeah, I saw Steve get a little bit squirrely coming into that corner there, and Russell has pulled out a few more meters or yards in front of him. So Steve's got his job cut out to get by Russell, because if I were Russell, I'd have the widest Mustang in the world right now.
Yeah, well, Russell definitely has the advantage under brakes. We know Russell's a great deep braker, and that's always makes it tough to pass somebody like that. But I think Steve Browne may be just a little bit quicker overall right now, so we'll have to see if Steve can, take advantage of this. And how's the ST lead looking right now?
Right now, it's status quo. The GS car of Alexis Molina, I believe that is, just passed the ST leader. So right now it's a 3 to 4 cars going into turn 5 with Stevenson still leading.
Yep,
and
we have Steve. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I was going to say Russell Clayson finally did make a mistake.
I'm going to break in there. We have a challenge for the lead in ST. Anti-Tuominen tried going on the outside. James Stevenson was having none of it and covered him, and it's still the same as we said previously. Back to you, Kevin.
Just watching this battle between Clayson and Browne. Browne's up in the draft of Clayson as they approach Canada corner, but I think he's a little too far back to make a move this time by, and indeed he is. He tucks back in line. But Russell Clayson's starting to look a little sloppy in a couple of places, so maybe he's worn off those tires, or he could just be succumbing to the pressure. But these guys are battling hard right now, as we see Clayson's trying to straighten out his braking zone as much as possible into 14.
Well, Kevin, let me ask you this. In a situation like this with about 10 minutes or so to go in the race, or even less than that, would you rather be the driver behind or the driver in front?
Neither, really, to be honest. This is a tough position. But if you're the driver in behind, and we see Steve Browne make a move on the inside, looks like he's going to try and pass Russell Clayson in turn 1. They're both on the brakes. Steve Browne has the edge on the inside, and he is going to take the position in turn 1, but Russell Clayson trying to do the over-under. Both got a little squirrely on exit, but Clayson's got the inside for 3. He's got the advantage, and he's going to tuck back in line. Maybe Steve Browne could get a good exit here, though, and get a good run down to the Marine sweep.
This certainly is the battle that is worth watching at the moment. Steve Browne is a little way behind as they head down towards the sweep. That was a really good move from both those drivers to pass and then repass. So this is the battle for second place, folks. So let's see what Steve Browne can do. Kevin?
And Browne's on the inside. He's made the move on the inside into turn 5. He's got the edge. Clayson is kind of shoved out on the outside. I don't think Clayson's going to be happy about that, but Steve Browne has the position going into turn 6, and Clayson is now about 2 or 3 car lengths behind. So Clayson's got the work to do now to catch up to Steve Browne with just under 6 minutes remaining in the race.
And looks like there might have been a slight contact there, Kevin.
Trouble in ST. Eric Biggs has blown his engine, and we have a new leader in. Well, we had a new leader in Anti-Tuominen. It looks like Stevenson might have gotten it back. No, Anti-Tuominen is leading in ST right now.
Anti-Tuominen is definitely leading this race at the moment with James Stevenson behind him. Dexter Castro is in 3rd place, and in 4th place is Chris Moran. These are the 4 at the moment challenging for the lead, really, because they each or any one of them could possibly take the lead at any stage. James Stevenson looks on the inside of Antti as they come into the left-hander there. He does take the lead, so once again there's a swap lead change. James Stevenson, Antti Tuominen fighting back. Dexter Castro waiting to pounce, and just behind them Chris Moran trying to get his nose in front of Dexter Castro. This is a good battle going on here. How's your battle between Steve and Russell, Kevin?
It's hotting up as Steve Browne gets a little loose on exit into 14. Russell Clayson's got the advantage in the draft. I don't know if he's close enough to make a move. We'll have to see. It looks like Steve Browne's moving a little bit to the inside to go slightly defensive, but Russell Clayson's still in his draft right now, so I don't know if he's going to make a move. He's very close on the draft. Russell is making a look on the inside, but he gets on the brakes early, tucks back inside. One thing I do want to check out is our battle back a little further back. These guys are still going at it hammer and tongs. Right now, Andre Trago has the edge over Nicholas Bailey, Phil Schrader, and Jason Breifogel. But these guys have been mixing it up as well. So it's not just second place it's all to play for. Even 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all these positions are still in the air.
Well, that's right, and I've just been looking at Nicholas Bailey trying to challenge, I believe that's Andre Trago in front of him, and these guys are in a pack with another 3 cars just behind them, so it's still all happening here. It's not over at this point in time yet. Back to ST, what's happening over there?
Battle for ST lead. Tuominen on the inside going into turn 1. He's got the nose ahead of Stevenson as they approach turn 1 right now. Let's see what happens.
And I'm going to jump in real quick.
Dexter's in there as well. Dexter is making a challenge on Stevenson. Antti has passed Stevenson. Dexter side by side with James Stevenson. This is going to be tricky. Chris Moran bravely, Dexter breaks late and takes the position. So Stevenson now in 3rd place in ST class with Chris Moran right behind him. That little battle has cost James, who goes back on the inside of Dexter Castro. So Chris Moran just behind them. This is not over by a long shot, Amjed.
Yeah, and there's also a good battle for 6th place right now. Huffman is leading Reinhold right now going
Hang on,
to
we have a crash. James was on the inside of Dexter Castro. Dexter did not yield at all, and there was contact, and James Stevenson is off track as we speak. We're going to a replay.
And
his car is badly damaged. James Stevenson, so he's going to be struggling to get back to the pits. I hear with the text, with the talk, the chat, he's asked for a caution.
Well, that's not going to happen with only 2 minutes left in the race. They're just going to have these guys drive it out, I'm sure. Towards the front of the GS field, Russell Clayson was able to get back in front of Steve Browne last time by as they approached turn 5. And then last time through the kinks, Steve Browne got very loose and lost several car lengths. So it may be that this battle is over, as we may actually be on the white flag lap. I'm not entirely sure about that one, as Dan Rash came across start-finish very close to whether or not it was white flag lap time.
Battle for 3rd and ST as Stefan Morin goes on the grass going through the kink. Dexter Castro is trying to defend 3rd place as they head down to Canada, and Castro will retain 3rd place.
So currently Antti Tuominen is leading, and just behind him we have Chris Moran, I believe it is.
And Phil Schrader in GS class just got very loose on the exit of 3 and just lost several positions, and he's having struggles getting back on the track. That's unfortunate because he had moved quite a ways up.
And Moyan's on the attack again. He got a good one out of the final turn, and Moyan has gone into 3rd place in ST, and Castro has fallen behind and right in the draft.
That's right. So we've got two battles in the ST class, and we've got a couple of battles still going on in GS as Chris Moran went on the outside but could not make that stick, and we have Dexter Castro and Stefan Moran making contact. That's twice we've had a contact with Dexter Castro involved, so this is not good, but he has lost the position. Stefan Morian has made his pass stick, and he is in third place. Meanwhile, at the front we have Chris Moran challenging Antti Tuominen for the lead in ST. They're going down towards the sweeper side by side. Anti's on the inside, so one imagines he would have the better chance of making it out. As we see Chris Moran backing out slightly, thinking not a good idea to challenge in that sweeper. So Anti holds position at this point in time. Kevin.
And Richard, this is the last lap. Dan Rash is coming around the turn 14 to take the checkered flag. He will get the win at Road America. Well done, Dan Rash.
Fantastic job. He's played it very, very cool, Dan Rash. Stayed behind when he needed to, checked out the competition, had a look to see what was happening, and then on that second restart, he blasted off and is won by a really good margin. ST class, they coming around to finish off. We've got Antti still in the lead, Chris Moran fighting as they come around to the well, they're still going down towards the sweeper coming out. Yes, they are still down in the, they come into Canada corner actually. So we'll stay with this battle to see who's going to win the ST class. Currently it's Antti Tuominen. Chris Moran is challenging strongly, looking on the outside. Can't make anything happen on the outside. So they come out of Canada and they're heading towards the final few corners before the end of the race.
Castro's off. Morian in the third place.
Okay, Stefan Morian, we hear, is now in third place. I'm gonna stick with this battle for first place in ST. They're heading down the straight now, and it seems to me that Antti Tuominen will take his first win in the ST class. Chris Moran ran a really good race, and he's gonna take second place in ST class. The last few laps have been quite frantic, Kevin, so let's calm it all down and analyze what's happened in the last lap or so.
Well, I think we can safely call the GS field, as the ST field is still finishing up. But Dan Rash took the win, Russell Clayson is in second, and our final podium spot in GS is Steve Browne. And back to ST.
In ST, James Stevenson ends up winning the race, closely followed by no. Sorry, my timing messed up. Let me find that.
So it does. Antti Tuominen did take the ST win. Chris Moran followed closely behind in second place. Stefan Morian was third. Dexter Castro fourth. Elliot Huffman fifth, and Matthew Reinhold with a very well run sixth place right there.
Okay, so I'm sorry guys that we just had a couple of breaks in communication towards the end there. Certainly, as Kevin has called it, we certainly have a race that's over, and we'll take a short break now and we'll come back with the final analysis and to give you an update of exactly what happened and where. And welcome back, folks, to the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. It was kind of frantic at the end there, and throw in a couple of technical problems, and everything went haywire. So we're all calm, cool, and collected once again, and we'll analyze the last couple of laps for you, starting with the GS class. Kevin?
Well, our podium was Dan Rash, took the overall win, and he really didn't seem to be threatened by anybody in this race. He was pretty dominant, and he won by 10.7 seconds, so that was a fantastic run by Dan Rash. And second was Russell Clayson, and third was Steve Browne. So Russell and Steve have been kind of getting together a little bit the last few races, and there may have been some contact earlier on, or late, excuse me, I should say late in the race between the two under braking, but those two, once again, kind of tied at the hip. And the rest of the field for GS, Eric Smith fourth, Andre Tego got the final fifth place spot, Nicholas Bailey, Duiljean Boldrin, Chris Burrett, Jonathan Auger, Phil Schrader was 10th, Fred Masters and Chris Duffy rounded out the GS field.
And the ST class, Amjed?
Yeah, Auntie Tuman ends up winning ST class over Chris Moraine. Those two had a great fight for first, and then behind them was Stefan Moran and Dexter Castro. They ended up being third and fourth respectively. Round up the top five was Elliot Huffman. Now you might be wondering what happened to James Stevenson. Well, he got wrecked out with about 3 to go. He ends up finishing 12th.
Yes, and just to call the rest of the field, in 5th place, Elliot Huffman. Matthew Reynolds finished in 6th. Ayrton Ellis, who had some damage and had to pit, he came in 7th place. Tom Eklund was 8th. Chuck Johnson in 9th place. Ed Varas in 10th place. David Wimond, James Stevenson, William Randleman, Eric Biggs, and Stephen Asbury didn't partake. He had some problems very, very early on, but that was the way the field finished. Now, folks, we're going to do some interviews, and we'll get the stories from the drivers themselves. So let's see, who do we have there? Shall we start with the GS class? And let's start with possibly the 3rd place there, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you, Kevin.
All right, well done on your podium position there. That seemed to be a pretty frantic race for you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sitting in a pool of sweat right now.
I believe that was quite the battle you had there at the end with Russell Clayson. So tell me, did you guys make contact when you passed him going into turn 5 there?
Yeah, I squeezed him a little bit, and we made some contact. It was just a 0x, so it was nothing too substantial.
Well, that car has definitely got some damage all the way around it, so I suspect you need to get it to the garage and get it fixed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we can make it to next race. I'm not too sure what the work schedule is like, and if I do make it to next week, that'll end up being my last one for the season, as I won't be here for the last 2. But it was a good run this race, another podium. It was fun racing with Russell and Eric, and that was good.
All right, well, I hope we do see you later on in the season, and congratulations on a great run today, Steve.
Hey, thanks, guys, and thanks to Turn 2 Motorsports and Solo Storm and Patrol Data Systems.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Okay, and 2nd place, which was Russell Clayson. Is he available for interview? Yes,
Russell,
he is.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, Russell, that was an action-packed race between you and Steve, and another action-packed race for you in general. Walk us through a little bit of your race.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. It was a fight all the way from the green flag. Close fighting. Eric Smith is great to drive near. He and I were tight together for the whole first stint. Then he jumped me on the pit stops. I don't know how he did that. I think he cheated. But then did well on the restart, and both restarts, had a great fight with Steve for the whole end of the run, trading places. That's what I come here to do. That's great racing.
Yeah, that looked fantastic on your end. From green flag, we saw you get aggressive on brakes, as is your trademark, and use that to your advantage frequently throughout the race. So that second place has got to feel pretty good.
Yes, indeed. I'm more proud of this finish than any other of the season. My car was working perfectly for me. I managed to keep it clean. Even though I overdrove on the brakes on that first lap into turn 5, I was just reviewing that. Thankfully, the guys around me were heads up, and we were able to keep it clean and have a nice long race.
All right. Well, congratulations again on the second place, and we'll be seeing you soon, Russell.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for all the hard work you do. We appreciate it.
Thanks. So let's see if our GS winner, our overall winner, Dan Rash, is available. Dan, can you hear us?
Loud and clear, Kevin.
Dan, you seem to have control of that field pretty much from the get-go. You must be pretty pleased with that result.
Yeah, the Free Domain Radio Mustang ran really well the whole race. I had a great setup that was really dialed in, so the car just felt like a glove.
It seemed like it. You spent a few laps behind Eric Smith at the beginning of the race, and then on lap 5 you passed him and never looked back. Was he holding you up that much?
Well, he always has good pace on cold tires, and so I figured there's no sense in rushing it. And in the rare event that we didn't have any yellows, it would have been very tight on fuel to get to the finish. And so I figured, what the heck, I'll lay back behind him, take it easy. You know, bump draft with him a little bit, see if we can distance ourselves from the rest of the field. And then if his pace fell off or whenever he made a mistake, I'd, try and make a pass. And sure enough, that's what happened is he made a mistake coming out of 2, got a little loose, and I had enough of a run that I didn't, it would have taken a lot to check up and stay with him. So I figured, I'll just take the opportunity and mosey on past. And after that, I just settled into a really consistent rhythm. It was a little bit of a zen focus, and that worked really well for me.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, you definitely showed you're the class today, so well done on that win.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, let's go check in on the ST field, because there was a lot of action back there.
Yes, sir, there certainly was. Now, I was hoping to talk to Stefan Morien, but I do not see him in the room, so I guess we'll talk to the second place getter, Chris Moran, first, and then Antti, and then others as well. So, Chris Moran, can you hear us?
I can.
Chris, that last restart, after that, it seemed to be pretty frantic all the way to the end. Tell us about it.
It was very frantic. I saw that happen, and I just decided to stay back and let whatever unfold, and it worked out.
Yeah, you ran a great race. I thought right from the beginning you were always challenging first for second place, and then a little further back, but it always looked like you were going to be on the podium.
Yeah, it felt that way for a little while, and then until I made that mistake early on, and then the caution came out just in time because I needed to pit anyway. And it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, that caution came, by the way, almost exactly on halfway, so it was like a gift to all the drivers because they were probably all thinking about pitting anyway.
Yep, pit window just opened for me right when that came out, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah, well, look, congratulations on a great race. We watched it all the way, and we thought that you did a great job there. Congratulations on that. Do you have any shout-outs for anybody?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone at Turn 2 and Patrol Data, and thank you guys for putting on these great broadcasts.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we'll move to the winner in the ST class, Antti Tuominen. Antti, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Antti, what a great race. Tell us about your part in it.
Well, I was a bit asleep in the beginning of the race, almost caused a problem in the first corner, and then it sort of looked like it's going to be a boring race. There was James and Chris in front of me, and I was just hanging behind them in the draft and following along and trying to pull a gap to behind. But towards the end of the race, we got some excitement.
We certainly did, and the battle between yourself and Chris Moran, at first with James Stevenson, was really great to watch. And did you think that you could pull off the win at the time when you were chasing after that second restart?
Well, I had a chance. I mean, we were reasonably closely matched in speed, and with the draft there, you can really pull up. And if it's all about just getting a good run on a straight, and then there's not that much the other driver can do.
Well, that's true. It's very, very difficult to get away from anybody, especially in that run down towards Canada Corner.
Yeah, almost before the first caution, James almost got me. I was like almost, well, something like 1.6 seconds behind him, so I was nearly losing draft, and then the caution came out and rescued me.
Yeah, as we said to the previous interviewee, Chris, that caution came out almost exactly on halfway when everybody was talking or thinking certainly about doing their pit stops anyway. So that was like a gift to all you guys.
Yeah, and I got a little faster out of the pits as well and got James there, but then he got me again when we were racing and so forth.
Yeah, there were a lot of lead changes in this race, probably more than I've seen in a lot of the races, even the ones that I took part in. So congratulations, Antti, that was a great win. You well deserved. You fought hard all through the race, and you come away with the win. And that should make up for a lot of the disappointments earlier on in the series.
Thank you, thank you. Before this season, I didn't really expect to get any wins, but there's already 2 of them, so I'm pretty pleased with my season.
Excellent stuff. Do you have any shout-outs for anybody?
Well, thanks to Dexter and these 49 Motorsport guys, the car seems to be faster than before. I'm getting up there in the podium and staying with the other guys.
Well, Antti, congratulations once again, a great win there, and we'll see you. Will you be contesting the final race or the final races?
Oh, I will be, unless something in the real life gets in the way, but otherwise I'll be there.
All right, Antti, glad to have you. All right, guys, let us talk to James Stevenson if we can find him. He must have be the disappointment of the race. Yes, James Stevenson. James, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
James, how disappointing? Tell us about it.
Well, really, my race was sort of compromised when that first caution came out because I just managed to break the draft and was going to do a pit stop and hopefully stay ahead. But with the draft broken, with the caution, Antti caught up and jumped me in the pits, and then it was on.
Yeah, to be honest, we thought that the first half of this was a race off. So the first half you were dominating quite clearly. And you'd got a good break on the rest of the field, and then almost directly at halfway, when everybody was thinking about doing their pit stops anyway, along comes this caution. So that changed things right around, didn't it?
Yeah, and it didn't help that Antti had Dex catch up and sort of push him along behind me and block me out from making moves back on Antti at times.
Yeah, tell us about that. That contact in the second last lap, I believe it was.
Well, it was the last lap for me because I was going so slow that I got lapped by the Mustangs, but Dexter just turned in a little bit too early, caught the back of my car. The first contact wasn't too bad, it was the second contact that completely destroyed it.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate because we were looking forward to a last lap battle between yourself and Antti. And I don't know who would have won that, to be honest, because the two of you were fairly matched in pace towards the end there.
Yeah, I think I could have got the upper hand on Ante if Dex wasn't super close behind him. It's when he had Dex right behind him that was able to stop me from coming back at Ante. Otherwise, if it was just Ante, pretty much every time he came past, I was able to go straight back past him.
Yeah, we did notice a lot of lead changes. Of course, Chris Moran was close behind as well, and he was battling with Dex and with yourself and Ante, so it was a four-way battle most of the time in the last few laps.
Yeah, it was good for that. I thought that we dropped them off like we did in the first thing, but with Ante and I battling, it slowed us down and allowed them to stay with us. So it was a good race up until that point. I mean, I only had 2 incidents, and both of those were grabbing a bit of grass on the exit of turn 4, trying to hang on around Ante, but then yeah, the last lap was just a disaster.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate. We feel it for you. I particularly being a member of the AMS team. So commiserations on that one. I'm pretty sure you will still be close to or in the lead of the series, so it's not too bad in the end. So do you have any shout outs for anybody?
I'd just like to say thanks to my sponsor Castrol, and I'd like to shout out to Stefan, who couldn't be here today, and Stephen Asbury, who was here today, but he had some connection dramas and didn't complete the race, unfortunately.
All right. Commiserations once again, and we'll see you back for the next few races.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Now, we are getting close to the end of the broadcast. Do we have time directed to do 1 or 2 more interviews? All right, we've got 1 more interview. I would like to call in Ayrton Ellis. And Amjed, you have a talk with Ayrton.
Yes. Yeah, Elton, tough day today. You had to start from the back of the field. It seemed like you're making your way forward, but then the cautions came out. So tell us what happened.
Well, the first caution was definitely a good break. I managed to get myself up to 4th, which I thought I did pretty well, but I wasn't catching them. I was pretty much keeping the 6-second gap that I had behind them. So the caution was a break, and we all pitted, so that was fine. Came out in 3rd, but that restart was hectic because we did have a few lap cars. Tom Eckland, I think, was one of them. And coming out of turn 2, it was a traffic jam because Ante didn't want to go 3 wide between James and Tom, so everyone checked up, and I ended up going to the outside. Didn't know which side to go to, inside or outside. Went to the outside, then I realized Tom broke really early. I tried to avoid him while braking, and it made my car uncontrollable, and I went into the grass and spun around, and unfortunately got hit, so I had about 3 minutes of damage, and my race was pretty much over because I didn't have enough time to catch up to the back of the pack by the next restart.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, so if you didn't have the incident, where do you think you would have ended up?
I think I had a good chance at a lead. I felt the only person that was really faster than me was James or Ante. I felt like I had good pace compared to the other guys. So I was feeling very confident at that first restart, but I still need to get back used to the traffic. I haven't done these races in a while, so I'm not used to racing big packs, and just trying to get back into it.
I understand. You got any shout-outs?
GSRC it did a great job, and I enjoy commentating for you guys every now and then in the Blondies series, so hope you guys had a lot of entertainment in the race. I didn't make it as exciting as last time, but I'll try again next week, next 2 weeks.
Alright, thank you, Ayrton Ellis.
Well, guys, unfortunately, we have come to the end of this broadcast. It was a great spectacle, I'm sure, for you guys at home watching. Plenty of really fierce and good battles. Anyway, we want to thank Safecraft Racing, who is the official sponsor of this series. Safecraft safety equipment is used by most of the top professionals in motorsport, automotive, aviation, marine and other demanding industries. They are known for innovative designs and the highest quality components. We also want to thank the makers of all the hardware and software that we use for the broadcast. That is iRacing.com, the best ever racing simulation, XSplit streaming software, Twitch TV and Ustream, our streaming hosts, Ava Media for our capture cards and streaming software, and Audio Technica for all the microphones we use. We also give thanks to the team here at the Global Sim Racing channel. Find out more about us at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. There you can find highlights of races we have covered and archived full races as well. We are also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, and we have a Twitter account at GSR channel. We will be back in a fortnight with the next race in the series, possibly at Homestead or Kansas. It remains to be seen. So it's good night from all of us here at the GSRC Global, at the globalracingchannel.com. We say to you, race to win, but keep it clean, and we'll see you out on track.